I reincarnated into a fantasy world. The first thing I noticed was the quiet ceiling and the flickering candles instead of LED bulbs. This world lagged behind in civilization compared to Earth, but for an orphan who died from overwork, it was a decent place to start anew. The household seemed wealthy, and my birth mother was extraordinarily beautiful. With such a start, I thought my future love life would be secure. 3 years later, I finally saw the world outside my window for the first time. It was incredibly vast, even for a child like me. I soon discovered my family was part of the Grand Duchy of Dragonia, a prominent name within the Kingdom of Lionheart. I was the son of the Grand Duke, essentially a duke. At 8 years old, I began learning swordsmanship, destined to become a knight of the kingdom. A fantasy knight! I marveled. Am I going to use sword chi and aura too? My master was none other than Sir Gothic, a holy knight dispatched from the palace. I'm sure this is the goddess's will, he said. Pleased to meet you, Leon, he greeted. I bowed. Please take good care of me. But then I wondered, Holy Knight? What is that? The brutal training. That goddamned Gothic Mako! I cursed. This is freaking child abuse! A Holy Knight was no ordinary warrior. They were monsters masked in human skin. To become one, you had to complete grueling quests, train relentlessly, earn honor as a knight of the kingdom, and be chosen by the Holy Grail to drink its sacred water. And as the son of Dragonia, I had even more to endure. On top of knight training, I had to learn everything about becoming a Grand Duke. Lessons to become the successor of the Grand Duke, combined with Holy Knight training, pushed me to my limits. If there really is a God, I groaned, I want to ask them to save me. Though, admittedly, I didn't believe in any religion. For 16 long years, I roamed the world, seeking the acknowledgement of the goddess. To become a holy knight, I had to prove myself through fame and good deeds. But the path was fraught with danger. Swarms of orcs invaded the kingdom, and battles were endless. How do you get the goddess's acknowledgement? I wondered. The answer was simple yet grueling. Keep racking up your fame and good deeds, and she will eventually come to you. Amidst the chaos, there are too many orcs, my comrades cried. But I wielded my sword without hesitation, cutting down the green-skinned invaders. You trash! How dare you invade the territory of the kingdom with your soiled feet? I roared. The kingdom had too many enemies, but I refused to yield. At 20 years, my perseverance bore fruit. I met the goddess. She was real, radiant, and divine. I accept your orders, Ariana, I declared, my voice trembling with awe. The goddess really exists. I marveled. After years of slaving away, I became a holy knight. My blade knew no rest. I tore apart goblins, slashed through evil cults, and rose to become a war knight of the kingdom, commanding others under my authority. My most infamous feat? The massacre of 700,000 orcs, men, women, and children. At 35 years, tragedy struck. The living saint and demigod, Arjun Majesty Lionheart, fell in battle against an archdemon summoned by the Empire. The kingdom was thrown into chaos. The goddess descended once more, this time to choose Lionheart's successor. To my astonishment, she selected me. Yes, Ariana, I whispered. The weight of honor and fatigue settled on my shoulders, but I could not fail the citizens or the knights who followed me. I transplanted the sacred treasure, the lion heart, from the goddess and vowed to protect the Holy Grail. And so I became Grand Duke Dragonia, king of the Lionheart Kingdom. By 80 years, the kingdom had endured 3 great wars with orcs, a hunchback goblin's evolution into an archdemon, and the Empire's relentless dark experiments. The Empire's school of dark magicians is enforcing experimentation again, I growled. Their alliance with the bastardly northern cult was a blasphemy. How dare they try to break away from God? Foolish divine separatist bastards. Human rights for those who didn't even deserve to be slaves? At 96 years, the Empire crossed the line. We offer you 3 million live offerings, their mad emperor cried. Please grant me my request. The depths of their depravity knew no bounds. The emperor of the empire, the same fool who once claimed he feared death, committed an act of ultimate blasphemy. Alongside 3 million of his own citizens, he performed a mass sacrificial ritual, summoning the Lord of Chaos into the heart of the capital. The skies darkened, the earth trembled, and the world teetered on the brink of annihilation. I had no time to mourn. The holy sword, still stained with the grease of last year's orc slaughter, was unsheathed once more. Let's go to the Empire, I commanded my knights. There would be no mercy. As the legions of hell poured forth, I stood before my trembling army. "All troops, look in front of you," I roared. "Your lambs are trembling with fear." The air was thick with the cries of women consoling their children, the whispers of resistance from the last brave youths, and the dying breaths of knights planting seeds of hope in blood-soaked soil. I turned my gaze to the heavens. "Goddess, do you hear the sound of the villains who have taken everything from us?" My voice was a thunderclap, shaking the very earth. "Enrage eternally. Be enraged at those fools who are deceived with victory." But even as the chosen agent of all gods, I knew the truth. I could not stop the evil that had spread beyond the horizon. The last battle. That winter, we fought the final battle. Billions of devils covered the land like a plague. The barbarian slaves, once deemed worthless, were thrown into the fray as meat shields. The civilian knights, armed with nothing but spears and shields, died with honor beside the kingdom's finest. And I, Grand Duke Dragonia, wielder of the Holy Sword, the Holy Spear, and the Holy Grail, stood alone at the end, my blade carved through the demonic horde, each strike fueled by divine wrath. For the goddess, for honor, for Lionheart. The end of all things. In the final moments, as the world crumbled around me, the goddess spoke. "My knight, my beloved honored knight, your goddess will be with you until the end. I had tried. I had fought with every ounce of holiness in this cursed continent, but the world was being destroyed, unlike my wishes. As the darkness swallowed the last light, a single thought remained. Goddess, my goddess, what should this foolish knight do?" 256 years. I tore apart countless demon lords and archdemons, showing them the power of a holy knight. Winter had yet to end. I destroyed the last remaining demon gate. There was nowhere left for them to escape. "You poor lowly servants of evil, you are now stuck here with me in this world. I will kill every last one." I was not stuck. Those bastards were stuck here with me. Undated battle. "Harry, are you all right?" "Ugh, what happened?" "He defeated the archdemon in one slash." "Rise, courageous one. Now is not the time to fall. Rise and fight. I am King Lionheart, the knight of the glorious knights, and the agent who carries out the will of the holy temples, Leo Dragonia Lionheart. It was the 300th year when I came across the Earthlings. The Night King has returned. A mysterious gate opened in the middle of Seoul, its rank unidentifiable. The Korean Hunter Association urgently requested the nation's large guilds to participate in the raid. However, the guilds refused, citing the unknown difficulty of the gate as too great a risk. Left with no other options, the government ordered the Korean Hunter Association to enter first, a decision that felt like a death sentence. Inside the gate, the hunters witnessed something unimaginable. Han Hari, an associate manager of the Korean Hunter Association, returned exhausted from the ordeal. Kim Jin-soo, the head manager, greeted her with skepticism. "No one's believing it," he remarked. Han Hari sighed. "Well, that's to be expected. It was a black-rank demon gate with the great devil inside. Surviving without the help of other guilds is already a miracle, but to have cleared it? Yeah, no. You're a survivor, right?" Han Hari's expression darkened. From inside the gate, she had encountered something beyond comprehension, a survivor from another world. Over the past 30 years, gates had appeared worldwide, each leading to realms on the brink of destruction or already ruined. Occasionally, survivors from these gates returned to Earth, wielding unimaginable power gained from their time in the demon realm. The government had long sought to recruit these survivors, knowing their strength could tip the balance in humanity's favor. "We need to scout them no matter what," Jin-soo insisted. Han Hari nodded grimly. "That person is incredibly strong." Jin-soo's voice was tense. Even an A-rank hunter risks their life against a high-ranking demon, but he killed the great devil with just one attack. The implications were clear. Whoever this survivor was, their power defied all logic. And now, they were on Earth. The Korean Hunter Association had one mission: find the survivor at all costs. The fate of Seoul and perhaps the world depended on it. But what awaited them was a force beyond human understanding. The monster that even the most skilled S-rank hunters feared. He had completely overpowered it. The display of strength was beyond comprehension, leaving those who witnessed it in stunned silence. "What I'm most worried about right now isn't his power," one observer murmured. "It's the cultural difference." "Why do you think that?" another asked. The first hesitated before answering. I could hear it in his voice. that he's a very good purse. Before the words could fully form, a cold, mocking voice cut through the air. You lowly? The unfinished sentence hung heavy with implication. Whoever, or whatever, this being was, his strength was matched only by the gulf between his nature and humanity's understanding. The real threat might not be his power alone, but the impossibility of bridging that divide. The glass that could stop even monsters lay shattered, its fragments glinting under the artificial lights. A nervous whisper cut through the tension. A very good person? The skeptical tone hung in the air before someone muttered, cultural difference, I guess. 15 minutes earlier, the truth had been unveiled in a way no one expected. The man at the center of attention stood with the bearing of someone who had lived lifetimes. I was an orphan who labored in my 20s and then died of exhaustion, he said, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. His story unfolded like something from legend, reincarnated into another world, becoming both king and knight, ruling for over a century before spending 200 more years hunting demons. 3 centuries in total, yet fragments of his past life on Earth remained. Leon Dragonia, Lionheart Nim? It won't benefit me to reveal I was once an Earthling. Isn't a Night King who lived 300 years more impressive than some overworked 20-year-old who dropped dead? His tone brooked no argument. You will refer to me as Your Majesty. Across the room, a hunter stood frozen before suddenly snapping to attention. Ha! Ah, yes, Your Majesty! The king wondered idly if this man was simply polite, or if the government had trained its hunters to handle survivors with kid gloves. The Black Gate, the hunter began, then hastily corrected himself. I mean, Your Majesty's world made contact with our hunters, and you eliminated all those demons, right? Did you forget already? Sorry, I don't understand. I slaughtered those wretched creatures and upheld knightly honor, he declared, as if stating the obvious. With a regal wave, he pronounced, You are now my temporary secretary. A beat of silence stretched before he added magnanimously, I grant you the privilege of recording this glorious event. The hunter's throat worked as he swallowed hard. Yeah. Meanwhile, the unspoken truth loomed larger than any gate. This man who had conquered demons and worlds now walked among them, and no one truly understood what that meant. The glass might stop monsters, but nothing could contain a force like him. The air in the room grew tense as the king's piercing gaze swept across the assembled hunters. Are there no etiquette rules for how you treat royalty here? His voice carried the weight of 3 centuries of command. Before anyone could respond, his stomach growled audibly. Translation, I'm hungry. The hunters scrambled into action. Ah, you must be starved. I mean, hungry. We'll have a meal prepared immediately. As servants rushed away, the king leaned forward. Tell me about this world. I need to understand what happened to Earth. One of the senior hunters cleared his throat. 30 years ago, the nightmare began. Gates started appearing worldwide, spewing forth monsters and demons. We've been in constant emergency ever since. After many losses, we learned each gate has its own theme and quest, and if left unattended, it triggers a dungeon break where monsters invade Earth. The king's eyes narrowed. In my world, demons invaded like mushrooms after rain. But here, it's as if someone designed these gates to train humans through trials. Your Majesty, a servant announced, the meal is ready. The steaming bowl placed before him released fragrant tendrils of nostalgia. Bone broth boiled for hours, topped with salt, pepper, and crunchy kimchi. Seolangtang, the soul food of laborers. Leon's throat tightened. This was what he'd lived on during his previous life, when he was just another overworked 20-something destined to die exhausted. No, he muttered, forcing down the saliva flooding his mouth. The serving hunter beamed. Ah, it's called Seolangtang, Your Majesty, known as the comfort food of... How dare you? The table shattered under Leon's fist as he erupted to his feet. You serve royalty with peasants' fare? His aura crackled with barely contained power. Is this how your kingdom honors another sovereign? The hunters recoiled as Leon's titles poured forth like thunder. Malice, Lord of Chaos, Slayer of 23 great devils, Arch-nemesis of demonkind, Guardian of the Holy Grail, Wielder of... He caught himself. And a returner who used to be an earthling. His first thought upon returning after 300 years? What a mess. This disgrace stems from your lack of proper religious faith, he declared, regale composure returning. Enlightening foolish peasants is royal duty. Though Earth had changed, one truth remained. He was still, and would always be, a night king. The kimchi floated sadly in the cooling broth, forgotten in the wake of his wrath. The hunters watched nervously as Leon Dragonia ate his T-bone steak and drank the 1993 vintage wine. One hunter hesitantly asked, "How did you recognize our Jangmyeon?" Hanhari stepped forward with a bow. "Your Majesty, I'm sorry for interrupting your meal." Leon looked up. "You're that swordsman from before." Hari's colleague whispered, "He seems more interested in you. At least he won't kick you out." Hari clenched her teeth. "All he said was that I was brave." A hunter asked anxiously, "Was the meal to your liking?" "It wasn't bad," Leon replied. "I could taste the chef's sincerity." He set down his glass. "My earlier anger wasn't about simple food, it was your disrespect toward royalty." Hari bowed deeply. "I didn't know." "Enough," Leon interrupted. "Your name was Han?" "Hanhari, Your Majesty." Leon's gaze turned serious. "I've learned about these gates plaguing Earth." Hari saw her chance. "If Your Majesty permits, the South Korean government could support you." Leon shook his head. "A king doesn't serve another nation's military. I will create a new knightly order in this world." Hari realized they hadn't just met a survivor. They had encountered a king who would change everything. Hari could only nod in response to the higher-up's decision. "What did they say?" a colleague asked. "What could they say?" she replied. "They'll provide whatever support he needs. At least he hasn't joined another country or a major guild." Another hunter sighed. "To think our government-affiliated association has to bow to him now." The conversation was interrupted when urgent alarms blared through the facility. A warning flashed. If a dungeon break occurred at a granary location, the demonic energy would contaminate the land and halt food production entirely. "Isn't the Phoenix Guild led by S-rank hunter Lee Yongwan?" someone shouted. "An orange-rank gate shouldn't be a problem for him." Hari's eyes narrowed. "They must have another plan. We need to stop this quickly." "Those Phoenix Guild bastards," another hunter spat. Leon, listening from beyond the door, immediately understood the situation. "Trouble arises," he observed calmly. "A dungeon break would render farmland barren?" His expression darkened. This world lacks proper defenses indeed. At the granary site, Section Chief Kim and Hari confronted Lee Yongwan, the Phoenix Guild's leader. "Hunter Lee Yongwan," Kim demanded. "What the hell is happening here?" Lee smirked. "Ah, Section Chief Kim, and rookie Han Hari too? This bastard, he let the dungeon break happen on purpose." The truth became clear. The Phoenix Guild had been demanding tax exemptions for their gate profits, including magic crystals and monster materials worth trillions. When refused, they orchestrated this disaster as leverage. The Phoenix Guild wanted $1 trillion in tax exemptions, Hari seethed. And now they're holding food supplies hostage. As Han Hari confronted Lee Yongwan, her voice shaking with anger. "You already have enough benefits as a large guild to think you'd do this just because your request got rejected." Lee Yongwan, the S-rank hunter and Phoenix Guild leader, remained unmoved. "Our guild members are gravely injured. It'll be difficult to raid the gate in this state," he said dismissively. "We'll try by tomorrow, but I can't guarantee anything." Hari's hands clenched into fists. "Do you have no patriotism? You know what will happen if the Hanam Plains get infected. Miss Hari, I told you this last year. In this world, justice is money and power." Leon observed the exchange with growing disdain before stepping forward. "You're quite shallow and old-fashioned," he remarked coldly. Lee turned, sizing up the unfamiliar figure. "Who are you? You look like a Westerner." "How dare a person as lowly as you speak?" Leon's voice thundered, cutting him off. Lee's face twisted in outrage. "What's with this bastard? He calls me, one of the world's 20 S-rank hunters and leader of a top 10 guild, lowly? Do you want to die?" Hari quickly intervened. "Hunter Lee Yongwan, stop! He's a survivor!" Lee froze. "A survivor?" Leon ignored him, turning to Hari. "Explain the problem." Hari hesitated only a moment before summarizing. "It's a dungeon break. When it happens, demonic energy floods out and infects the land. Crops won't grow on contaminated soil. Right now, the Hanam Plains are being poisoned." Leon absorbed the information with a sharp nod. "Tell me the details of the gate." Lee, still seething, spat. "I don't know the specifics." Leon cut him off. "Then your usefulness ends here." The air grew heavy as Leon's gaze settled on the spreading corruption. The Phoenix Guild's greed had endangered thousands, but they had forgotten one critical truth. No amount of money or power could shield them from a king's wrath. Hari watched as Leon strode toward the gate, his cloak billowing. The real question wasn't if he would stop the disaster, but what would remain of those who caused it. Leon surveyed the contaminated Honam plains with a stern expression. To purify the infection and clear the dungeon completely, that is our priority, he declared. Hari nodded urgently. We need to act fast before the corruption spreads further. He turned to the hunters. Call your forces. Tomorrow, when the raid deadline for those small fry expires, this king will intervene personally. Then, unexpectedly, he added, however, a foreign king cannot conduct military operations in another nation's territory without permission. First, I must receive authorization from your country's ruler. Hari blinked in surprise. Pardon? No, I think it's okay. Leon cut her off sharply. There is a legitimate process for everything. How can you call yourself honorable if you disregard your nation's laws? The situation took an even stranger turn when Leon made two unusual requests. A straw doll, and that it be crafted specifically by women who had given birth. Confused officials scrambled to comply, organizing an impromptu doll-making competition across the plains. Women gathered, weaving straw figures under the watchful eyes of hunters and officials. To think you call this metaphysical, eccentric body, Leon muttered disapprovingly as he inspected the offerings. His criticism grew sharper when he suspected some participants lied about being mothers. You foolish person! Disgraceful! Amid the chaos, one doll finally caught Leon's eye. The 89th submission, made by an elderly married woman, made him pause. Incredible, he declared. How many children have you given birth to? He asked with surprising gentleness. The woman, taken aback by the king's attention, answered quietly. Leon nodded approvingly. Normally, I would send knights with medals and gifts to honor a mother of this land, he said, but given the urgency, please forgive this simpler recognition. He lifted the straw doll high, addressing not just those present, but something far greater. The conditions have been met, mother of this abundant land. The people of Earth offer you this doll of harvest. Please receive it. A hush fell over the plains as the impossible unfolded. The straw doll, cradled in Leon's hands, began absorbing water droplets from the air, each bead of moisture vanishing into its woven form. Then, without any visible support, it stood upright on its own. Hari's breath caught. The doll just stood by itself? Leon paid no mind to the murmurs of shock. Instead, he knelt and placed both hands on the contaminated soil. Greetings to the great earth. Dear Demera, divine being ruling over life and fertility. His tone held the reverence of a high priest. Yes, there are evil species on this land, but there is no divinity here. He turned slightly, his gaze sweeping over the hunters, the insult delivered with cold regality. But know this, while I may blend among swordsmen, the authority of a conqueror is divine. As the wind stirred his cloak, Leon raised his hands to the sky. Dear Demera, he said again, voice softer, almost imploring. The free citizens of this earth suffer under evil energy. I know this is not your will, but please, heal and purify this land. This is a world blessed with divinity. He gestured at the lush, healing soil beneath him. To give birth and prosper, that is the righteous duty of any who live. The words landed with a thunderous finality. Then everything that walks upon this earth will be your ally, Leon declared, voice steady and absolute. I will ensure that duty and authority stand as equals. I will lead the ignorant to truth and honor. His next words fell like prophecy. The hunters watched in breathless silence. The air still shimmered with remnants of divine energy. The earth had healed, and now a king dared speak of building gods. Leon turned from the crowd, his back to the rising sun. A lesson had been delivered. Whether Earth could understand or survive it remained to be seen. Manager! Manager! This is big! He pointed. Someone bring me the iron pot from the village chief's house. The implications were overwhelming. Crops, just harvested, now held properties more potent than high-grade potions. Healing, resistance, mana regeneration, millions in value per bundle. But not all welcomed the miracle. Crops grown using magic are poisonous, a skeptical man shouted, his voice tinged with fear. Everyone knows that. Leon's smile vanished. These are not your sorcerer's weeds, he said coolly. These crops were blessed with divinity. On the sidelines, Li Yongwan gritted his teeth. Damn it, this is going to ruin everything. His subordinates gathered, grim-faced. We can't let this stand, Lee said. We'll challenge it. For the sake of the public, we need independent verification. We'll provide the appraiser. If you're telling the truth, surely you won't mind. As appraisers began examining the grains, each reading confirmed the impossible. Healing properties, resistance, enchantments, natural mana flow, no contamination, no toxicity. The truth was undeniable. Whether Li Yongwan liked it or not, the land had changed. Then came the moment no one expected. I got curious and ate a bug, one hunter mumbled. A bug? Yeah, and I got a buff, strength boost, speed too. Panic turned to joy as realization spread. If the land's been blessed, then so has everything that lives on it. Hunters exploded into action, chasing down beetles and grasshoppers like kids at a festival. Eat anything that moves, except each other. Leon watched it all unfold with a quiet nod. He turned to Han Hari. There is no God in your world? Hari hesitated. Not really, no. Leon's expression turned grave. Then this world is like a chariot with no reins, no order, no vision. He pointed to the gate. Now that the soldiers are fed, we go. But elsewhere, the Phoenix Guild plotted in secret. Damn that survivor bastard, Li Yongwan growled. If he wasn't here, the government would have folded to us. His second-in-command smirked. He's strong, but what if he never comes back? Li's eyes glinted. The gate's already been probed. Midsection's dangerous. Only Han Hari's A rank, and she's still green. He scoffed. I bet that king is just some lucky support class, a blessing-type buffer at best. Then his voice dropped, venomous. Inside the gate is a monster that cannot... He stopped. He didn't need to finish. A trap had been laid, and the Phoenix Guild intended to bury the king within it. But as Leon and the hunters stepped toward the glowing gate, fully blessed and battle-ready, the air itself seemed to bend around him. He walked not as a man, but as a force.